I'm gonna be quiet now. I'm sorry, folks.
I just want to say Leonard is great, but Paul, you dodged a major bullet. You are so lucky. You did not win.
Yes, you are. Yeah, it would have put you under, Paul. Yep. You would be sleeping all afternoon, every afternoon.
So do we want to talk about opening the park first, Steve? Do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that, you know, based on what I think I sent a document out today. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. But based on that document, I think that opening the parks are probably not that much of an issue if we're just opening them up for what I would call passive type of recreation, and which is what we kind of were thinking anyhow. And Wade, you sent me an email this afternoon with some of your opinions on it related to like potentially, you know, obviously not opening playgrounds and not opening potentially the bathrooms. And at this point, I think that's where, from a staff standpoint, that would be our recommendation as well. The piece that's really become the question that the staff has gone back and forth on and trying to help to give some guidance, and I'd like to hear from this group what they think, is especially related to the pavilion, where we have all those tables and things like that.
A shared space.
It would be, the problem is how often we could clean them, and we probably could only clean them maybe twice or 3 times a day if we were fortunate enough.
In the past, how have they been used? Well,
A lot of times they were used by groups, and obviously between groups, we always tried to get in and clean and take care of things. But they also, the one pavilion that really is the one that's most in question, because it's the one at Drexel Lodge and it was the one that gets the most use. I would go up there at lunchtime and a lot of people would be sitting there and doing their lunch or doing something like that at the tables. The problem is, I just know that we're not going to be able to get up and clean them. And there is some debate about whether the virus would live on the wood in the cracks or not. And, you know, I read some articles that say it's probably not an issue. And then I read other articles that they think it really is an issue. So that's one of the challenges that we're kind of faced with that.
Well, you know, if I could say something here, I think I think I said it last meeting, we should err on the side of safety. And my recommendation would be don't open the pavilion, don't open the rides or the little kiddie things. Let people just come and sit in their cars if they want to enjoy nature. Or go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even though it's outside, I'm being called back into my swimming pool to teach lessons on Monday. And how that all is going to play out, I have no clue with shields. But I think if people are smart, and because manpower is down, you guys are cleaning up trees. And,
yeah,
you know, if we were to open it, I think people have to show themselves to be responsible. Police have to drive through every so often, make sure people are being responsible.
How would you close the pavilion?
Excuse me?
How would the pavilion be closed?
What my recommendation would be is that we would just load up the tables on the back of a couple trailers and bring them back here and store them until we were ready to put the tables back in.
Just like Starbucks.
Get rid of
How about leaving 3 tables?
Huh?
Yeah.
How about leaving 3 tables very far apart from each other?
So, Paul?
Yes.
That would be one for Paul, one for Sheila, and one for Peter.
So I have 2 concerns with that. First of all is if I don't have staff cleaning them regularly, whether it's
Right.
1 table or whether it's 15 tables, I'm not sure it makes a difference.
Right.
And the other side of that is people will pull them together I don't have any way of keeping them separated. If people want them together, they'll just move them together.
Got it.
Yeah, they will.
The truth is that you don't have enough staff to clean them as often as they need to be cleaned.
That's my concern.
And as I said at the last meeting, we can control our own behavior, but we can't control the behavior of other people. It depends on what they do. So what I would suggest is that there be a large sign that says, you are responsible. Say, remember, you are responsible for your own safety while you're in the park. And are we going to have any sanitizing cloths or anything there?
Yeah, we're going to, I don't think we'll have like sanitizing cloths necessarily, but
Well, I mean,
we are,
the paper stuff.
excuse me?
The disposable. I'm talking about disposable sanitizing. Like
We are putting in hand sanitizer at the pavilion where the trash cans are, so that if people go up, because the trash cans all have lids, and if we take the lids off, we're concerned about animals, and so we're going to put hand sanitizer there. We could put some wipes out, but I don't know that they would do. I don't know how they would work on the wood tables, because they're not a smooth wood table.
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of getting rid of the tables and not having a couple three. You just can't monitor it. You can't clean it enough. But there should. But if you say you're responsible for your own safety, please use the sanitizing, whatever you want to call them, cloths or rags or whatever.
Yeah.
So in a lot of places, there are canisters where you just pull one out, and it's loaded with several hundred of them, and people should wipe down before they touch something and wipe down afterwards.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was thinking in terms of the playgrounds and having a large sign that says, remember, you are responsible for your child's safety while they are in the park. And I believe people, grandparents and parents concerned about their kids would grab one of those sanitizing cloths and kind of clean things up before they let their kids on the jungle gym.
So I think that
we're not going to open the playground, though. It's my understanding.
No,
Right
no,
now,
that has to be roped off.
Phase 2, or phase, I say phase 2, the yellow phase. If you look at the document that I sent out, it was pretty clear that for playground, it was under a supervised condition. And as I read that, that wasn't like parents supervising their kids. It was like a controlled, you've gone to a camp and they're watching, and they've watched this child, and now they're saying, okay, we're going to clean this area before the next child uses it, that kind of thing. Versus,
it's like a lifeguard.
Exactly.
So I have a very small amount of experience here, but I've been to Ridley Creek State Park in the last couple of weeks just to walk on the trails.
Uh-huh.
And I've been to Marsh Creek State Park, and Ridley Park, I would say about 60 to 70% of the people were walking around with masks and were very conscientious of, getting too close to other people. Marsh Creek was 180 degrees different. Hardly anybody had masks on. They were swimming in the lakes, which they weren't supposed to do right now at this stage. And I only mention this because I'm agreeing with Bill that I don't think you can put the tables out at this point, because there's just not any uniformity with who is being cautious and who is not.
Yeah, you have to assume. Yeah, if you assume 10% of the people are idiots and don't do anything, then there's 10% or whatever percent. There's a lot of germs, perhaps. I think you should just. I know what the kids will do unless you rope that off. They'll start street hockey under the pavilion.
Marsh Creek, I was shocked at how many people did not have masks on and did not seem
Yeah.
to be bothered how close they were standing or walking or sitting near somebody else.
Right.
One question, guys, could you when you put up the notice, just let them know that the tables were temporarily removed. So if this is a first-time visitor, they don't think we don't have that facility, just so that they're aware that there are tables. They've been removed due to COVID-19, and we look forward to having them back, just so that it's a point of reference for them.
Sure.
That's the first good idea you've had tonight, Sheila.
Just turn off his mic.
Sorry, guys.
You do know I have that
No,
control.
Sheila, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
So we have, I guess, agreement that we should open, but not the playgrounds, not the pavilion. How about benches and that kind of stuff, Steve?
What we've done with the benches along the trails, and here's what I'm going to suggest, and I like the Bill's idea of we'll get some wipes and put them out at the park, but we'll put a sign up on the benches that says the township is only able to clean the benches once a day. And, that way we know we get it. We'll probably clean them twice or 3 times, but I don't want to commit today would have been a perfect example. Even to do it once a day, today would have been difficult.
Yeah.
I still think you got to put it on the individual.
No, I think that's right.
Responsible for your safety while you're in the park. Please use the wipes provided by, and then we'll get a little publicity, Parks and Recreation for Newtown Township.
Yep. No, it's kind of exactly what we've done already.
Can George get that stuff, the signs pretty quickly?
We make the signs ourselves and laminate them and then mount them right behind the bench.
Okay.
So that's what I guess we were going to talk about next was the signage for the parks, because that's a requirement as well, isn't it, Steve?
Yes. So our recommendation, George and I've spent a lot of time talking about this, and today it's staying 6 feet apart and wearing masks. In another month, it may be you can be 3 feet and you don't have to wear a mask. We don't know what the guidelines are going to be. So our suggestion on the signs that we're getting that are more permanent, and I think he's already ordered these, was that we were going to tell people they needed to follow the current CDC guidelines. And then on the temporary signs that we make, which we just make and then laminate, we'll give the specific guidance that's for right now at that time, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It sounds good to me.
So, again, we're just trying, it's so hard because the rules change. And as the rules change, we don't want to have to be tearing down signs we just put up a month ago that are more permanent type signs.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we okay on the park opening then?
Yeah. The only other thing we talked about last time, and I think it was still a reasonable idea, although, like I said, some of the parks have been inadvertently just opened because we had to use the barricades, would be that we had talked about opening Drexel Lodge and Brookside first and kind of doing that as a test and seeing how it goes. And then open the other parks. The park that I'm most concerned about opening is the one that we've had the hardest time keeping closed, is Newbie. And the reason why I'm so concerned about Newbie Park is if somebody just walks through it, I don't really care. But the only thing in the park to be able to really do there is use the playground equipment.
Yep.
Play on the basketball court or swing on the swings. And, there's really not a whole lot else to do. There's a couple little grills, I think, but it's not like some of the other parks where there's lots of room to spread out.
It is quite small. All right. So, The old
So-
business, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I was just gonna start going over the old business. So what do you want to say about newbie? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sonia.
Oh, I was just going to suggest, can you keep, other than the swings and the basketball courts, can you keep the other playground equipment closed and maybe just put up signs that if there are more than 10 people in this park, you'll be asked to disperse, or you could be fined or something like that, to kind of encourage people that if they see people already in Newbie Park, that they'll just need to come back at another time.
Are you thinking that we would have the basketball courts open?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure what the CDC guidelines say about that. But if you've got, 2 people playing basketball, is that violating the CDC guidelines at this point? I don't know.
The way I read it, what I've read for coming back, any organized athletics would definitely not be okay.
Mhm.
If you can play using your own ball, I
Right.
think they would say that's okay. So like 2 people that horse and they each had their own ball and they only touched their own ball,
Oh,
they would say that's okay. But 2 people out actually shooting, that would be a challenge.
okay. Well, then, then maybe you'd have to close all of that stuff down, but just put up signs that if there's more than so many people in the park and you're found in the park violating that limit, you could be fined. You'll be asked to leave and or fined or something like that.
Yeah.
So every time I go to Newbie, the adult swings are full of teenagers. And I would say if you don't want people to swing, which I agree with, because people keep holding the chains and then they get off and somebody else comes on, I would say remove the swings, period. That's how I see it.
The other thing you could do is put an envelope around the basketball hoop or take it down.
Well, right now we have, they're boarded.
I guess
Oh, like you put a board on top of the hoop?
that
Yeah,
would-
we put 2 boards. We've taken 2 2x4s and made a cross and sealed it on there. And right now, that's how all the basketball hoops are taken care of.
That's smart.
We put them back up, so when we're ready, it'll only take a little bit of time
Mhm.
to get them open. We had taken some of them down completely, but we put them back up and put these boards on, and it's worked pretty well.
So Steve, my understanding was that we're not going to open the basketball courts. They would remain
Correct.
closed until we until we're
Yeah,
green.
I think that it will be at least the green phase as I interpret the
Okay.
opening up. And even then, I'm not 100% sure on basketball.
It seemed like it was only organized at that point.
Yeah, that's my understanding is at that point, it's only like a little league or a basketball league or something like that even.
Yes, that's
They
the way I
don't
read
pick
it.
up
All right.
games.
All right.
Can you, Steve, can you put in a community, blog or something that if kids want to play basketball, that the parents go out and buy a little hoop for themselves, put it in their backyard or on their driveway? Like, why do we have to provide basketball hoops for the community at this point?
Well, I have to tell you, you want to know the most used pieces of equipment at any one of our parks are our basketball courts.
Oh, yeah.
And the one
And
out
there's-
here at the township building,
Oh,
it can be used till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And
easy.
we've known nights where the kids have actually brought in generators and put up lights.
No, that was Sheila bringing the generator in for the kids.
And they
I mean-
start early. They start, because I remember doing it when I was growing up, but even now that I live down the street from it, they start earlier than I remember ever starting. And you're right. They are out there all the time.
Yep.
I left one night and it was like really dark outside and I kept hearing this sound and I'm thinking, what is going on? They were out playing basketball, pitch black, just out there playing and having a great time.
Yeah,
not
and
gonna
every shot made it. They made every shot.
A lot more than I would have made it if it was complete daylight.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not going to be invited to any more pickup games. They were all some of the people were blaming me for this match.
Oh, really?
Oh no, Leonard, you were probably the hot star on the court.
They were it's funny because it was, both parents and just young people in general were very angry at first. And then the numbers started going up and people started knowing people who were sick and and then it's when they all stopped. They were like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have been playing basketball, sweating and spitting and hanging all over each other.
Yeah, exactly. I rode my bike up around the playing fields and I saw, like, it looked like a couple teams or a bunch of kids playing, but all the coaches and the kids were sitting 2 inches from each other, not 6 feet.
Here?
Yeah, in Newtown Township, up on the playing fields about a week and a half ago. I said, and I had my grandson, I said, so much for social distancing. I mean, it looked like they were coaching their kids to get ready to play a big baseball game coming up.
Not supposed to be.
I know. I felt like blowing my whistle, but I didn't have it.
Just so that you all know, one of the challenges, and I don't want to publicize this, but we don't have a lot of meat in trying to enforce anything on this. It's not like I can go and say, you can't do this, because the governor has done it as guidelines.
Yeah.
And even if he hadn't, there's some question whether he had the authority to set that up in the first place. So we're having to be careful how we enforce, and not saying that we don't have, it's not like I can go out and do a fine, or it's not like I can go do some of those things. It's a lot more difficult. The state police have done it and they can do it, but it's harder for us.
Yeah. Well, I hope, Steve, you and your band of good people over there just keep strong and wise, because Wade and I were talking about just the wisdom that you bring to the table. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's a team, from the Board of Supervisors through the staff. It's a team.
Well, thank them as well, would you?
Yep.
Steve, just to continue onto the point that Peter just said there, how many hours have you been up nonstop, just so everybody else knows, for the last, I guess, 24 hours responding to storm damage and working with PICO to get everything back online?
Well, the good news is I haven't been up that many hours, but the staff has been up that many hours. I think I shared before you got on, Leonard, our public works staff was in all day yesterday, stayed in all night, and even stayed in till almost about 2:30 today when we finally sent them home. And they'll be back in the morning. But they had cleared everything that they could clear without PICO doing their job. So we're very thankful, and I was a little more fortunate than they were.
Well, thank Harry too, and of course George.
Yep.
All right, so I'll go over the
Go
agenda.
ahead.
I'll just read it out. I'm sorry it didn't save. I don't know what I did. I'll try and fix it later. So on the concerts and everything else at the park, I just put down that we'll have a placeholder for September 12th or 19th for a concert. If things do improve, there's guidance that allows us to do it. If we feel like we want to, we'll just have a placeholder there for that date in case things change. It seems unlikely, but just to have a placeholder there.
That's good.
And then the other thing was yoga in the park. I guess we'll let Sheila talk about that. Sheila?
Well, we did the first one tonight, and it was actually great. We had to respect the COVID-19 restrictions, so we did it via Facebook Live. So it was wonderful because it was simulcast both through Jolly Llama Studio and through the Newtown Township, and we're really looking forward to it.
Oh, she just.
And the supervisors give us permission for it to occur, hopefully June 18th in the park. We actually had a couple people who texted people saying that they were at the park even though it was closed, and we were adamantly shared that it was only a Facebook Live event. But really good excitement about that. And I actually have another issue about a Tuesday offering for class, so I'll bring that up in new business. But a lot of good stuff. Thank you to Leonard for sharing it. Thank you for Kathy from the township and Rich, who've been very supportive of doing it. But please, please let us get to June 18th in the park, because I think it'll be, we will respect the 15-foot distance. We've offered to maybe look at some painting circles or whatever you suggest to, you know, provide the 15-foot distance. We can use natural spray paint or some way that we can mark the territory or sign it or whatever we need to do to be safe. But we would really like that opportunity, because I think mentally it's good for people to see some level of normalcy.
Yes.
Well,
George-
Steve, what do you think about this, Steve? Because we're not going to have a meeting before we do this.
Yeah, no, first of all, we're going to discuss this Monday night at the board. Leonard's going to be so tired of hearing this. He's just going to be like, okay, let's get it done.
Open it.
Open it.
But George and I talked about this, and we think that we could do, you know, the concept of like spray paint or something, and do it like on the upper soccer field, that flat area. And we haven't gone out and figured out just how many we could get there. Do you, Sheila, have any idea how many people showed up tonight?
No, well, I had to use my phone to do the transmission, so I'll look at all of the data, and between the two, we'll see. We know that it will be better attended in live because a lot of people were asked about that. So we'll get the data and see that. I think what we would look to do is set up 20 circles. Last time we had a huge, but that was a Saturday morning. We're pandering to a 5:30 to 6:30 crowd. So this is new for us. We'll see what it's. But I think if we just have the spray can, we put out 20, we put maybe center dots for additional planned, but not necessarily have to mark them until they're needed. You just kind of will scope it out and mark the territory at the beginning of the class.
I
And
do
just have
think
them
we
ready.
would have to say, we would limit it to 25.
Okay.
Just because that's what the guidelines are right now.
Okay.
And so I don't know whether you want to set it up that we require people to register, and we could do that through the township website if that's what you want to do. And, you know, and then when we hit 25, we just can't take any more. The other option would be if somebody can do it out there. We do have some power. I just don't have Wi-Fi, so we'd have to use like a phone or something. We could do both.
Yeah, I asked Jolly Llama if they want to do that, and they're going to get back to me if they want to do, because I said we could do both.
Yep.
I'm asking them what they would prefer to do. And tonight I actually just had to use my own data and do, you know, a Zoom connection. So that is possible. The registration, usually what we do with the event, we get a feel from, you know, the number of people, but a lot of times people either say they're interested or going when in fact they don't. So it's not always really a good indication. But, you know, I would say we wouldn't have a problem with the first few classes, but, you know, how long do you think you're going to need the registration? Because anything you bog down the process, we're gonna, you know, complicate the process, and it's already a rotating schedule based on classes. So like next week is.
How many people were there last year, Sheila?
Oh God, but that was like, we had 50, 60 people, but that was a Saturday morning and it was a totally different crowd. You know, this is going to be different because.
So why don't we see how many you get the first few weeks?
Right.
And then
And
if we
doing-
need to make adjustments, we can.
Here's what I would say, Sheila. I'm happy not requiring. We have Leonard in stereo.
Oh, sorry, I'll put that.
I'm
I'm having so many issues with my internet. It's not even funny. So I'm sorry
well,
about
I'm just
that.
looking at you with a frozen look, and then you're moving on the other. It was kind of funny. But anyway, I'm happy if we don't require the registration. It just means if we don't require the registration, somebody's got to be willing to tell people they can't stay.
Yeah.
And if somebody's willing to do that, then I'm fine. But
Is there any way we could, let's say, at one event and just move people to a different field? Is that out, like it's a different group of the 25 number if we get to like 26 or 27
how would she
people?
lead it though?
Well, what we'd have to do is have that, how we did that one section in the upper field? And we did it through a microphone. And so maybe we could have her broadcast a little louder. I think the first few weeks, we're not going to hit the 25. I think we're going to have 18 to 20, but I can't guarantee it. And I think we're going to see that each week will be depending, the family events are different because we can have a little bit more if indeed it's from the same family. I understand that the family group unit is one. So if, let's say, a mother comes with her 2 children, is that correct?
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I believe that a family, if the people that you live with are coming to that event, they would be within your same circle because you already share germs with them. So that would
Yeah,
be
but I don't know that changes the number of people
allowed.
that you're allowed to have in a location. I do
Okay.
understand that when you're looking at bringing groups together, it allows for a little different dynamic, but and you can obviously keep those people closer, so if you have a family and there's 3 people and they happen to be within 3 feet of each other, that's not a problem. But I don't know that you can expand the number of people, but we'll look
Okay.
into it.
Okay, and we will need, for these events, we're going to need at least 3, depending upon, again, we need somebody just to kind of keep things going. We need somebody in the parking lot, and we just need another set of eyes in case something goes on. So each event, we're going to need 3 Parks and Rec people volunteering, and we'd love it to be a rotating basis so everybody helps out because it is a lot of work. I mean, even tonight was, you're getting there, you want to facilitate the yoga, but you also have to be careful, like you said, of redirecting people, or if there's an issue, or if somebody's doing something, gently remind them. So that would be helpful if we could share that with everyone. And I would say for the first few weeks, I would have no problem, going up to someone and just say, I'm really sorry. We hit the 25 number due to this, the yellow phase that we're in. This is, unfortunate, but I would have to maybe ask you or whatever. But I do believe the way that the Thursday night classes are, it's an exercise class and each one of them is a different schedule. So like next weekend is called the Zumbini, which is a kind of modeled under the Making Music theme. So it's like mothers and young children theme. And then the following week will be, tahini or some type of, so I have that class schedule. I'm going to send that out tomorrow, but each week will be a different group of people. And it's kind of nice. So we have a variety of classes coming in, but basically in the cycle, there'll be 3 of the same classes throughout the entire summer series.
But
So
you're just talking Thursday nights now, right?
that's just the Thursday night series.
Okay.
But in addition to that, since that will be a rotating schedule, and remember, we had to do it at the 5:30 to 6:30 to plan on it being a Facebook Zoom live event, because at that point we weren't sure what was going to happen, and we could not risk using Zoom at the 7 to 8 o'clock time because Steve needed it for obviously township business. So what we come up with a great idea, and this is perfect because if we're starting, God willing, the park will be opened on, let's say by June 23rd on Tuesday night. Okay, this will be a free in-person event that will be hosted by Parks and Rec, and it will be supported by Jolly Llama, but it will be at the Kraus Field. And that way we can limit the number of people because it's a smaller field, and it will be from 7 to 8, and it will not need Zoom or Facebook Live or anything, but that series will only run from, we're suggesting June 23rd to July 28th. So it's a shorter cycle than the the Thursday night class, we're hitting a different time period of people. And it's nice because they will bring their own mat, and every week is just yoga. So it's consistent for those who just want yoga, whereas the Thursday night is a variety of classes.
So let me understand, where are you doing that?
That would be the cross field, the field right down by Fresco.
Yeah, on
The
252.
soccer field?
Yes.
Yeah,
Have
They
you
have
talked to the
signs up.
soccer group about that?
I wanted to get your blessing before I would contact Rich Ano, right?
That field is leased to the Youth Soccer Association on a permanent basis. So we would
Okay.
have to clear through them, I think.
Okay,
Yep.
so who is that? Is that through Rich? Doesn't Rich secure the fields?
I don't know that he does that one. That's what I'm saying is that one is not a field that typically gets rented out or
no,
gets used.
there are signs up, Sheila, that say this field is permanent or closed until further notice.
Okay,
So let me see if I can find out who our contact is for that, and I will
Okay.
try to get that for you.
now isn't that part, but that is under the jurisdiction of Newtown Parks and Rec, correct? Because the way I understood it was set up that the father, built the field, offered it to the soccer association, but his school, private school or whatever, uses that field as well.
The issue is that the township has leased the field to the soccer association
Okay,
for a long period of time, and they determine who uses the field.
okay, okay. So let me know about that, but this would
It's
be,
kind of like, just to give you an example, it's kind of like the softball fields and the baseball fields.
okay,
Even though they're here and they're township owned, they're controlled by the Petticoat League and Nell,
okay.
and we don't control those specifically.
And why Crossfield was suggested is because it's right down by Jolly Llama, and it was kind of worked with them so that way they could do their other classes in between. So if that didn't work, we could make it at another park. But what was nice is the time is different, the night is different, and it's consistently just yoga. And also, it is a little shorter cycle, so it's only from June 23rd to July 28th. So
And it's every Tuesday?
every Tuesday, and it will be from 7 to 8. And we were not planning on having to make that a Facebook Live event because we thought it would be in person. We were trying to do the sun downing phase, and if Crossfield isn't the one, we could maybe if you could suggest, another field. But I think they would really like that field because of the proximity for their teachers, because apparently they have a class before and after that. So that's why they would like that field to work with
Okay.
theirs. And they'll bring the tent, they'll bring the water. They're asking everyone to bring their own mats, their own water, their own, any blocks or anything that they personally have to touch. They will not be sharing their mats like they did before because of COVID-19, but we will communicate that. So that's the idea. Is everybody okay with that?
Well, yeah, as long as they say yes.
Right. So, but we need, again, on that issue, we won't need as many because it's a smaller parking lot and smaller field, but we're going to need 1 or 2 Parks and Rec people for that. So basically, if we just think of, kind of sharing the load, because it is a huge commitment, but it's good for so many reasons.
But now you're kind of asking us to do Tuesday and Thursday night every week for the summer.
Yep. Well,
Just
the Tuesday's only going to be from June 23rd to July 28th. So you're
Right.
done by the end of July. The
Right.
other one, yes, goes from every
All
Thursday.
right, well, how about if we create a sign-up sheet and we'll send it out and see who
Perfect.
can help?
Right.
Okay.
And also too, remember, it doesn't have to be a Parks and Rec person. It could be maybe you go with your spouse, and that way there's at least, just so that we need at Drexel Lodge, we need 3 to 4 people, depending upon the crowds. We need somebody just to make sure that nobody's, going on the equipment, just general safety, somebody in the parking lot, and we want to try to minimize, the
All right.
township having to send their resources.
All right, I'll create a sign-up sheet and send it out and we'll see what we get back.
And Sheila, can you get us some shirts, like that say cops on them or something.
Okay, but listen, I will then, so Steve, you will get back, see, if you just ignore him, he doesn't, you just ignore him. He's like a child, you just have to redirect him.
But
Okay,
you're
so
not
listen.
ignoring him.
Hey,
You're talking all about it and you're feeding him.
I told Wade I
Don't
wasn't going to
listen.
speak. I just love listening to you, Sheila. You have so much
Okay,
good stuff.
listen, go back to the bloody, give me the permission for the, get me the contact for the youth soccer field, please. And if that doesn't work, we'll go to Plan B. But I really think it's great, guys, because we're giving a variety of classes on Thursday. So it's not just yoga. And Tuesday will be consistent for the yoga. Look, they're doing it for free. We're getting free community service out of these people, and it's a win-win. And, you know, it's good for us to promote Parks and Rec other than just, you know, no, you can't play on this equipment. We're doing something that's positive, and I really think that's great.
Well, I think you're right. And I think you should be the general.
Would you please just mute him, please? I beg of you, Steve. I beg of you.
All right, so we'll have to
General
send
Sheila.
out see when we get back. Steve will get you information if it's okay, but we're still gonna have to follow the same guidelines of 25 people or less and 6 foot distancing.
I think the bigger challenge there will also be laying out the squares, or circles or whatever it is, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah. It's just basic math. Sheila can do that.
No,
But listen,
no, it
can
has
we-
to do with, will they allow us to paint on the field?
Right.
Can we
Yes,
use
that's a
environmentally
big-
friendly? There is environmentally friendly paint that's used. It's not the, you know, the Rust-Oleum kind.
They
And
might
it's a,
have some layout on the soccer
Yeah.
field that we're gonna mess up.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Okay,
Yep.
all right,
Yeah.
all right.
Sheila, relax, Sheila. We got it.
Just make sure it's environmentally safe paint, please, so we don't kill any of God's creatures and the trees and the birds and the flowers and the.
No, they have upside down paint. It doesn't hurt anything. It washes off.
No, that stuff is toxic. Let's get a nice, good quality paint. All right. Okay, so you tell me that. There's 2 other things. I've got to go into EACD stuff, but let's get to the next item. Would
All
you
right, so-
please mute Peter? I
Right,
Who's
beg you.
running this meeting?
We had the Greer Park Master Plan Committee meeting, and I just want to let everybody know, I think everything's going very well. I think that they're on schedule and doing a pretty good job. The survey of the park itself, the physical boundary survey was completed, and it's all marked out. I did go down there when they were doing the survey. I did get permission, and
Yeah.
it looks pretty good. They are working on the survey for the public for input as well, and they've got that near complete. So I think that they've done a pretty good job, and we're moving along pretty quickly.
And actually, yesterday was the first focus group, and today was the second. So we had great 10 neighbors. 8 of the 10 neighbors were residents who had connecting properties. So we got a lot of the same type of feedback that we were expecting, but it was really good.
Well, kudos to you, Wade, and you, Sheila, too.
Steve, did you think it's going well, or?
Yeah.
Are you
No,
asking
I'm.
me?
Yes.
Yes, no, I think it's going fine. I think they're very aggressive in trying to get some of these focus groups done, which is great. And I know that's not been easy in light of this time, trying to set these up and, make sure that you can get people who will all be able to join on a Zoom meeting or whatever. So I give them a lot of credit for that, because this is not as easy as just bringing people together in a room and getting feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
And the good news is I'm expecting hopefully to start the commercial tomorrow with Mike, possibly tomorrow or Monday. So that'll be great.
Good.
And that will be linked to George's. We need that to get into the community magazine, and it should go on all the surveys.
All right. So then the bocce ball court. Now, I was struggling getting a hold of a guy named Roy, Public Works over in Marple. He wasn't returning calls. George Harris got involved and talked to the director over there. So he did reach back out to me, the director that George talked to. I sent him an email last night. I'm waiting for him to get back to me. I'm sure he's busy. I hope to hear back from him like next week sometime and sit down and try and figure out a plan to come up with an estimate for the bocce ball courts,
Okay.
both recurring and non-recurring costs. And then we have new business. Now, Sandy was on last week. She's going to join the group, Sandy Cornelius. She couldn't make it this week, but she'll be joining us. She's from Lissitor. She kind of ran Elwyn Institutes. She seems like a really good resource for us. And I think she's going to work out pretty well. So I'm hoping she's going to be able to join us again next month. And then as far as an interactive web page, I don't know if we want to pursue this for the COVID thing, because it's going to be a lot of work for limited return. But I'm wondering if we do start setting up web pages for our parks. I would try and do a template for one of the parks itself. Just show it to the group, and then we can take shots at it and improve it, do whatever. But at least maybe we could start doing interactive web pages. I know the township's limited resource-wise, but if we can try and get some young people to maybe help us, or somebody study up on it, we might be able to get something together to have web pages for our parks. I think it's something that's overdue.
Yeah.
Good.
Right now, and we'll do what we can to assist from the township side. I will tell you, we are at the lowest number of resources that we've had, I think, since I've been here when it comes administratively. So everybody's kind of pushed pretty thin right now. But, if you want to start putting things together, and then we can look at, probably doing something in about 2 months or so, we probably can help. If it happens much sooner than that, I think we're going to be a little bit challenged.
Okay, not a problem. I just wanted to try and get a template to start taking shots at.
No, I
So
think
2
that's a
months
great
start.
idea. And,
Okay.
I think that, the more that we can build on that website, that the biggest key for me is that we build it and we just keep it current. That as things change, we make sure we change things.
Okay. And then there's a sliding board. I'm sorry. Was somebody going to say something?
Oh, if you were bringing up new business, I got to bring up the EAC issues that Parks and Rec is going to do
All right,
for us.
Let me just run through what I have left. I only have a couple more items. The sliding board at Brookside Park. Paul had brought this up in our January meeting. If you step back and take a look at Brookside Park playground equipment, it's really uniform. Everything looks really cool. And then there's the red sliding board. It just kind of stands out. It's very faded. It just doesn't look right. And I did some research. You can actually paint those with Rust-Oleum puts out a product. So we could paint it green to match
cool.
the structure there and not have to replace it. It would be rather inexpensive to do. I don't know if something Public Works could look at.
If you get the product, Paul, your mic's not on. If you get the product and the name of it, and I'll send it to George.
I'll send it over to George. I'll CC you on the email. Okay.
Yep, that's great.
All right. And then there was and then I made a note of increased demand for basketball, because every time I talk to someone, it seems like they want. So I thought maybe that's something we could start looking at long term. Is can we put in a basketball court somewhere, expand what we have? It's not necessarily something we need to discuss tonight, but if we start thinking about it for the future, it might be good.
Okay.
Brookside would be great too.
Yeah, Brookside would fit. Yes. And then I was going to mention painting the bathrooms at Drexel Lodge Park, but I drove past yesterday and I saw Lewis down there painting the bathrooms.
We've been working on trying to get the parks ready to open.
Okay.
And I know the guys are, really trying to do different things around, just so that they've got a huge pile of it's mulch that they put on the playground mulch. They've got all of that because even though we're going to keep them fenced off, we want them to look nice.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna cut the agenda short and let Sheila, you had new business?
Yes, the EAC is coming up with a tree ordinance that they presented to the supervisors. And the supervisors, as I understand, may be voting on that on July 8th. And it's really important. It's the first chance that trees will actually be a priority. So it's the shade tree ordinance, and they've been kind of going back and forth with the details. But part of that would be that they would have a tree commission. And this is really important because we did lose the Tree City distinction in Newtown Square. And part of it is the fact that we don't have an arborist, we don't have a tree commission. And part of the tree commission is it's someone who's looking out for where the big picture of the trees in the canopy of the township. I know Steve does have an initiative of having 1,000 trees planted, and I think that was for his MS4 credits. But where Parks and Rec comes in is, remember before, and I know Paul was fantastic with this, and we worked with Tyler Arboretum. We got an inventory and we did all the listing of the actual identification and tagging of the trees. Well, EAC would be incredibly indebted to Parks and Rec if they would possibly consider doing an inventory of all the trees that we have at all the parks. Now, I know with Brookside, we already have 30 or more trees that were put in through Arbor Day that would help, facilitate making that even easier. But it would be a great undertaking for Parks and Rec to know what you have, identify what you have, maybe even making sure that we have a variety of species of different trees, so that way they don't old age and die or become susceptible to disease at the same time. But the tree canopy, we were looking at community tree programs. So there's a lot of excitement about trees. We need to make it better for the township. But if Parks and Rec could pick up and do the inventory of the township parks, would be phenomenal. And I suggest Peter would run that show.
How come you're always trying to volunteer me? Paul does that.
Paul would work, you work best with Paul, is phenomenal, and you and Peter it would be the Peter and Paul show. That would be awesome.
So,
Well,
we're flattered, but you need somebody who really knows tree species.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
With a book and sort of try to imagine it, or it's
Nice try. Yeah.
it's a 5-year plan. You need somebody who goes out and says, this is a sycamore and that's a tulip poplar.
And there will be.
Nice try, Sheila. Nice try.
But there will be, the way hopefully the Shade Tree Commission will be and hopefully there will be somebody from Parks and Rec that could step up to be a part of that. And hopefully there will be an arborist. That would be the ideal world. But right now it's just, again, ideal. But in the meantime, I know, Paul, you had John Custer, who has got some expertise with that, but I was looking to see if maybe we could just reinvent things. Remember how we got that woman from Tyler Arboretum or some other place that we just need to kind of look at who we know in the community. Maybe we get an Eagle Scout who would help us, but it's a really big ask.
Her name is Allison Dame, and she
Yes.
lives on Woodcrest Avenue.
I know, right? Because I was the one that got her, but I'm saying we need to kind of encourage us to find other people to help that. Would it be something that Parks and Rec would want to, I know you don't have the expertise. I know we don't have all the talent, but we have it within the township, and it's just an opportunity. If the township needs to do this, I would love for us.
I don't know that Parks and Rec really has the resource to do it. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff all at once. I mean, I would help, and I'm sure some of the other folks would help.
But I don't want to be the lead.
Okay.
No, Sheila, we can send you back to school. How about that?
Listen,
Well,
by the way, guys.
Unless you have an arborist,
Yes, you need an arborist.
I'll be guessing it'll be worthless.
Yes.
Right. And the
That's right.
arborist is part of the township, and that again is something if that's possible. But right now we don't have that resource, and they are asking us to provide some type of inventory.
Sheila,
And,
the two people that are most knowledgeable in my mind right now are John Custer and Cindy Mahalo. Cindy Mahalo knows trees very well, and so does.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I
Those
am
two
also
are not, perhaps they're not arborists, but they certainly know what they're doing.
right.
Yep.
And
I am trying to find, there is a potential connection that I'm trying to work, who is a retired teacher who is an arborist, that I'm asking him to donate while we're trying to set up the Shade Commission. But I'm just trying to feel out people's input, if indeed, if there was a process would somebody be interested in the Shade Tree Commission and, you know, to represent like Parkers and Rest?
So I am interested in the Shade Tree Commission. I'd like to
Okay.
be a member of that.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
So then what I'd
hey.
like to do, if maybe, we,
Come on, finish.
you'll still at least consider if we give you the proper tools or get people the proper tools, because the township needs to do the inventory altogether. So.
Well,
if we could-
there is a man that Paul did not mention who knows trees really well. His name is Pete Williams, and he works for the township.
Right.
So maybe he could volunteer some time.
We could ask, that would be, could ask, but what I'm definitely looking is, I'm trying to see who we can get, and why we said we'd start with the parks is only because we have to do the inventory for the township. It's a great way to understand what we have. And remember, if we can't control what we didn't measure. And so it's important for us to know what we even have at the township parks. And I know George and, they'd all give input and we could do that. But it does start with somebody who maybe doesn't have the skill set, but is willing to kind of take the initiative and work to find it. And maybe all of us stepping up and helping out can do it. So it's just an idea to float. We'll think about it. Definitely, it's important. But I know, Paul, I'll put you down for interest in representing Parks and Rec on the Shade Tree. But again, I mean, I could just suggest, but I think that would be great. But it is important for the trees to be counted, because we're losing them desperately, guys. And we have a terrible problem with stormwater in this township. And the more trees or more we can encourage trees would be really helpful. I also want to mention to you.
Excuse me, I just want to add in right here that with the idea that we want to add 1,000 trees by the end of 2025, instead of going through each park twice, doesn't it make sense to inventory at one point and at the same time look for spaces where trees could be added, so that we would be designing where we would introduce new trees in each park?
Well, you're right. It is a fluid object. I mean, right now, Greer Park, that they are doing both. They are doing the designing and they will hopefully, I'll ask Mike McGraw or somebody to give us some level of inventory. But, you do want to see what you have, because it is like, I understand we just lost a park tree last night that wound up in my neighbor's yard overnight. So, it's something that we don't even know how many trees we have. So it would be helpful. I think we can talk about it. If anyone is interested in doing that, would you let me know? And we can then go from there. I do also have 2 other people that I'm trying to get them to be part of this forestry program. So anybody from Parks and Rec that cares about trees and making sure that we can breathe, let me know and we can do that. And also I wanted to let you know, Penn State has this incredible extension program. And there's a variety of programs, everything from trees to, stormwater, but to climate, to urban forestry. And each of these classes is available on a Wednesday for free. So if anyone lets me know what their interests are, I get a schedule of each class, and, they've really been quite helpful. I've done weekend classes, but it's a great way. I found one the other night that I am going to share with Wade, because it's great on parks and trees. I've got one that we could maybe even share with neighbors. It's how to manage your own backyard and be, environmentally friendly to it. So anybody interested in any of those things, let me know, and we can maybe build a little side community of interest.
Yeah, I will, definitely. You are a bundle of energy, Sheila.
Dude, I have no light, and I'm sitting in the dark, starving, and I have to go eat my dinner, because I've been doing Parks and Rec things since 4:30.
Come on over. We're having pizza right now. Come on over after the meeting. You know where I live.
We have a
6
generator.
Duty.
We have a generator, because
I have dinner. Dinner's made and ready for you. Just come on over.
Oh, dear Jesus. Steve, can you find any way to get my power back quickly? Because if I have to go over to Peter's house, I don't think I can live.
Don't bring a baseball bat, please.
I'm staying out of this one.
All right.
Please, thank you, Steve.
Okay. All right, but listen, anyone else interested in trees, let me know. But I love that Paul's going to help out. I love that Peter's going to help out. And the more, the merrier.
Sign me up. Sign me up, Sheila.
Right, so I
Paul
guess-
already trained me. You just have to teach me better.
Well, listen, I am hoping, say a prayer, if the connection for the teacher with the arborist comes through, it would be, I mean, I'm asking them to do this for free and to help us out, and it would be great. But again, this is what we have to do, guys. We have to tap in like Paul does. Paul, you know this better than any of us.
Right.
You tap
All
into
right.
what,
So
tap into what we
what
have.
I see is somebody professional like that. Somebody like
Yeah.
what you were saying who knows trees backwards and forwards, and then we become the scribes. And they're,
Can I? Yeah. So I
you know, they're
can
saying
I tell?
that's that, and we're designing it
Yeah.
either on a piece of paper or in a program, and
Yep.
we're just writing it down.
Hey, I had an experience about trees. We have a tree that's an ash tree in our backyard, and it is hanging over the Pico line. So I called Pico, and they sent a gal, I forgot her name, but I have it written down upstairs. She left me her card, who came in and looked at it and said, yeah, this ash tree is dead because these little bugs, you know, these little worms get in and they eat the inside out. So she put a pink tape around it, put a yellow dot on it.
Yep.
And I said, can you tell me about all these other trees? And she said, yeah, that one's a fire bush. We have a big fire bush in the back. And then we have a tulip poplar and we have silver maples. And I said, you know your trees. And she said, this is what I do. And so I can contact her. Maybe she could donate some of her time. She works for Asplund.
Yeah, Asplund is it's part of it.
These
She,
people have lives.
Yeah.
They expect to get paid for their
Yeah.
time.
No, once they hear Sheila talking, they're going to sign up.
I don't think so.
would you shut his mic off, please?
I'll look around, Sheila. Maybe I know somebody who knows anything.
If you don't ask, you won't know. And this is why we're trying. We're trying to
right,
be
so-
creative, guys. And, you know, we don't have the budget for these people. So if we can do some things, we're just trying to see what we can do to solve problems instead of just complaining about them.
All right, so why don't we get some tree books and memorize them, and then we can go out and be buddies, you and me.
Not
Right,
happen.
so I just want to let you know, Jonathan couldn't make it tonight. His power's out and his phone's dead, so he could not make it tonight at all.
No, he's the steady force on the crew.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty much good to go. Does anyone have anything else?
I just want to say thank you, Sheila, for really being the go-to girl. You are. I mean, you're not even a member on our committee, and yet you do more of the work than any of us all combined.
Oh, now
I'm
he-
saying that. No, I'm being totally
Now he's
serious,
just
so
trying
no
to make
laughing.
up.
You guys.
No, Sheila should be crying right now because I'm being serious for her.
It's a team effort, and without the team working together, it's not possible.
Yeah.
So,
But without you, Sheila, we'd be all sleeping people here.
All right.
be quieter.
All right. So I guess we can adjourn.
Oh, thank
Night,
you.
everybody.
Peace
Thank
out.
All right,
everybody.
good night, folks.
Thank you.
See you
Stay
next
safe and
month.
hopefully keep
All
your
right.
power on.